Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. What was supposed to be a simple and quick video has turned itself into an hours-long debacle of me trying to find the correct models to show off in comparison, and guess what? I never even found them. So what was supposed to be quick has ended up becoming a pageantry of models from this company, and I speak none other than Raging Heroes. So I showed these off very recently because I just painted them very recently, like a day after they were released, and these are some of their new Punks of the Underhive models, even though they're not really punks, and they don't look like they belong in the Underhive, but I'm going to stick to their word because they said it, not me, and we're going to roll with it. So obviously we have some very old cron looking cyborg warriors, but honestly, this release, despite being as nice of cyborg models as they are, I was actually most impressed with the fact that Raging Heroes has returned to some of the earliest models, not the earliest, because that would be the sisters that they did, the twins or triplets or whatever they were. I think it was twins. And I don't know what happened to mine, much like the models I was looking for. But we actually have seen the return of the Jailbirds. Now, whether that name means anything to you or not, I can't really speak to. But the Jailbirds were actually some of the models that were part of the Toughest Girls in the Galaxy, which really got kind of modern Raging Heroes really rolling and really in the spotlight, I thought. They put out a lot of stellar models. Some of them had issues going together. I eventually put quite a bit of mine together and painted quite a few, and I can't find any of them. So yes, that's what I was looking for. While these cyborgs are included in that release, along with other various... so I can get that better focus. There we go. Various evil cyborg mechanical guys. What I found most exciting was the new Hero Win models for the Jailbirds. I was quite pleased. Now, when it comes to close combat models, I'm always going to be there. And I thought I had a misprint on this. I did a little bit. Like I said, my printer has been kind of screwy lately. But thankfully, despite all being one piece and needing a little bit of cleanup still on the back there, everything came off pretty nicely. I was really curious how these stacked up in comparison to those original Jailbird models from the Kickstarter, but I can't find them, so I grabbed a couple other Raging Hero models from a similar era. Now I know this model, you can see a couple spots I know still need to clean up, had a little pet monkey flipping the bird on her leg there, but since I tend to use models with a variety of age groups, I figured that might be best left off. So we have those. We also have a couple of the other hero models here. I love the ridiculousness of this one. Obviously, it's pretty easy to tell what this was inspired by. The flaming guitar is quite the touch, along with the giant speakers and wires everywhere. Wouldn't be a cyberpunk Raging Heroes model without a bunch of wires. Thankfully, I can kind of figure out where they all connect to. Another of the heroes I actually broke. This is like Kaboom Kenzie or something like that. She's supposed to have a whole nother strap of explosives, but the handle broke, of course, right where it attaches there. Like she's got the sticks of dynamite strapped in her boots. You can't really complain about the quality of the character models for Raging Heroes. There's a lot of charm in there. And then they have a basic troop type, the standard Jailbird, of which they had 5 or 6 poses, I believe. And again, you can see some spots I need to clean up. When you have it at a 3x zoom, it's really easy to find all those little spots you could have and should have done a better job on. Right, High Lord Tamberlane? Right. Fun model. Again, all one piece. I do like they have kind of strategic spots where a lot of the bendy, flimsy, easily breakable stuff usually connects And yeah, every now and then, like our Kaboom friend here, we do miss a spot, but that's okay. Now, if you're going to go into the underhive, which is what these models are supposed to be doing, you're obviously going to need some kind of local law enforcement. So they had the boss here with a bullhorn system and what looked to be multi-mini missiles all strapped on him. And again, you can see tons of little spots I need to clean up. But I feel like the real star of this guy is his pet here. And he's just going ridiculously off the base with that thing. Again, this is all one piece, which is kind of a disappointment. I would have liked to have had the boss separate from his pet completely. That is not an option that I am aware of, at least at this point. But for the people who subscribe through Raging Heroes website rather than through Patreon or something, obviously, which I am, they do have the Cyberdog, which looks more like a panther, available by itself there. Would have been nice to have a whole unit of those. So usually what Raging Heroes likes to do is give you a selection of, like, I don't know, 6 to 8 hero models. And then they'll have, like, you know, 4 or 5 different troop choices. Like we saw the Jailbird earlier. We've got some sewer snipers. And again, you know what this release I really, really like is the fact that, sure, they're all named of various types and categories, but most of this stuff you could totally get away with using in just about any type of sci-fi scenario or situation. Okay, so we've got the Killer Cyborgs as one of the troop options, of which we have a whole squad. We've got some of the basic cops, and these actually, there were some Enforcer type cops from an earlier release. I don't think I have any of those painted. I know I have them printed. I was a little disappointed that not a single one has a closed visor for their helmet. We have both male and female officers. Some police power armor would have been cool, but that's just me kind of wish listing. Well, this was kind of a fun one. This was Kawamura, the butcher of the Underhive. Just a big fat guy strapped in a mech. Something different. And again, I don't even know where I put his base. It's just kind of cool to see different things that, yeah, I don't think there's any specific analogy in the 40K world for a lot of these models. And for me, I think that's the best. Not everything needs to have a one-to-one corresponding use. Come up with your own is always kind of fun to do. Let me grab a base that is of relatively normal size, of which naturally what I'm looking for, can't seem to find. What base is this? Is this Legends of Signum? Okay, that's just about the right size. So grabbing a generic grunt Jailbird. I told you guys I couldn't find any of my original Toughest Girls in the Galaxy models, but I do have from the second one. I don't remember what these dancer girls were called, but this was one of the Kickstarter releases. And it is nice to see whether they're human or not. They're roughly about the same size. This sister, what were they? The Sisters of Eternal Mercy? I want to say she was from the Kickstarter as well. And check that out, boom. Pretty close in terms of size. I feel like she's a little bit thinner, more true scale. That could just be the sculptor of this specific model. Moving forwards in time a little bit, post-Kickstarter, when we got into, what were they called, the Blood Ash Tribe or something like that. I really like these models. I've got a bunch of them tucked away upstairs, which is the only place I did not look for my Jailbirds, and I'm sure if I go do that after filming this, they're all going to be like, ta-da! Wooey! I want to say this one as well was post-Kickstarter, pre-Patreon. One of those sisters again. I feel she's a little bit bigger, but then again, she is also wearing power armor. I don't see a huge discrepancy anywhere here, do you guys? Again, these are mostly troops, though. It's when we start comparing troops with hero models, I think, is where we're going to really see the difference. Because, yeah, check that out. Our Jailbird ladies are significantly larger than their resin compatriots here. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's just them in comparison to those models. But again, I'm grabbing all sorts of Raging Heroes. So while I was looking for those Jailbirds that I'd painted, I started grabbing some of the other random Raging Hero stuff that I have painted hanging around. And as you can see, I mean, they're just big in general. It's not like they're outstanding in size in comparison to everybody else. And remember, she was part of one of the Kickstarters. No, she was one of the very first Patreon releases, wasn't she? The Spider Queen. Oh, shoot. I've got one of the Spider Queen girls hanging around here, in fact, that I never bothered to print a base for. It's funny. So when I said, or if I did, I don't remember now, I've painted a lot of Raging Hero models over the years, and I feel quite confident in saying that because I started pulling some off of the shelf here from various releases. I think she was from the Steampunk release. I didn't even pull everybody off. I just started grabbing stuff a good 30-40 minutes in. So it seems like everything is out of focus. That's better. Again, when we're looking at the troops, they do seem a little bit shorter. That's pretty understandable. Some of them are really hunched over. But then when we start grabbing other hero models that aren't cyborgs, I guess, we start to see that, well, they're of all sorts of interesting sizes now, aren't they? Heck, even our bounty hunter guy, wherever he went. Whee! It's a little bit taller than the basic cyborg there. Then when we start getting into the really big models, and yeah, I really love that Chaos guy. The Keymaster from their Cities release. Oh, please don't break on me. I would be quite sad. One of our dudes from the Celtic set. The Green Knight from their Arthurian release. So you can see here, I mean, really, there's a lot of variance in the size of these models when it comes to the hero stuff. So if you're looking specifically to use these as heroes, I think that is where you're going to run into issues if you wanted them, you know, to be uniform. I guess you can always shrink them down. That is one of the nice things about 3D printing. What else we got laying around here? Yes, they did a Lizard Man release. Lizard Woman. Just grabbing models. So, like I said, I have painted quite a few Raging Heroes figures over time. Going back to some of the basic troop choices. Clearing the palette a bit there. Some of their very first of the Desert Sands models. And they're in focus there. I want to say this is when things actually were like all multi-part figures even, which we really don't see anymore with the Raging Hero stuff. One of the very first of the Patreon releases, if I remember correctly. Who is quite tall there. Various Vikings. Our Elf King. Demons with crazy flail whips, dark elves. Norse gods. There's just a lot. I mean, obviously, if you haven't ever checked their website, there's a lot. And I mean, obviously, judging by the amount of figures I've just shown you, a lot of cool stuff. And if you're really just interested in the cyborgs, just to give you an idea of how they stack up. Of course, they are standing tall and straight. Maybe not the best Necron to use as an example, but that's okay. But yeah, I have just got to say, some of my absolutely favorite models. Definitely in my top tier Kickstarter and Patreon companies to support. It's been a while since I did a Kickstarter, but yeah. Anyways, I'm really rambling. Lots of fun stuff in the Underhive, and the coolest thing, I think, is honestly, none of these models are even from this release, except for this guy. None of these models are, like, overtly, again, specific usage models, of which we've seen in the past. So I like when companies kind of go off and do their own thing, and while it may be somewhat related, I feel like there's a lot you can do here to just enjoy them on your own and come up with some great gaming opportunities. Any kind of sci-fi, skirmish, post-apocalyptic type stuff as well. I think you're going to be able to get a lot of usage and opportunities from these figures. So, if you haven't, do take a look at the website, and I'll stop rambling so you can go enjoy them yourselves. And with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.